a number of photographers who, I've introduced to their agent for one thing, whether they didn't have one in the first place or they've looked to change. Agents do a brilliant job. One, seeking out work for their photographer, because the last thing a photographer wants to do is traipse their book around, rainy Soho, hoping to get an appointment with an art director or an art buyer. So the agent does a brilliant job in that respect. Also looking after their photographer, of course, in terms of protecting them with money and usage and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm very lucky, again, the other thing the agents do, obviously, is to act as a producer, or they'll hire a producer and act as a production company for their photographer.
When you talk about producer, you're talking about actually bringing the budgets together and making sure
putting the whole team together, whether that's who the stylist is, the casting director, the makeup, the wardrobe, the set builder, if you're talking about a bigger job, which is invaluable. And that's the biggest thing for me, is to which some people starting off don't always appreciate the importance of, is getting a great team behind you that can do all that stuff for you. So an agent will do a good job with that. Where I am, I will do that job. So sometimes better than others, but that's my role, is to pick the photographer, okay that with the art director and the creative director, and then put a team together. So that's really what producing is. It's not just a budgetary thing, as important as that is. It's pulling a team together. And of course, if you're doing a fashion shoot with Ellen von Unworth, you're probably going to want to use Ellen's stylist. But other times
that's going to be dictated to you, though, isn't it? With a lot of photographers, they'll come with their.
They will, and of course you better have a bloody good reason for not wanting to do that.
Yeah.
So as I say, if you're doing a still life, for example, a lot of still life photographers have their own stylist, and that's very much part of their look. So of course you're going to more likely going to use those people. But other times you want to pull in a stylist and a wardrobe person and cast them all together and put the team together, or even sometimes, and have with the buy-in of the photographer, of course. And for me, that's what producing is, as much as the budgetary side of it.
But it's a very interesting part. You've spoken there a couple of times about budgets and quite big shoots, but obviously one of the big subjects and the big concerns for photographers now is how much you actually get paid. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do I work out what to charge? And also, have the rates been reduced considerably?
Well, I think that the AOP rates were set up, I'm not sure when, a while ago. And they seem to be, there is a good but increasingly they're being ignored. They're being, because they're spending money on the job, and being honest with the
Yeah. And do you think also that there is a real issue at the moment with photographers undercutting each other for the sake of getting a commission which is particularly prestigious?
I have no idea. I mean, I have a budget generally set aside for a job, and whereas an ad agency will have a budget for a job, and that will include the photographer's fee, and the agent will cost the job out. Now, 3 different agents or producers cost the job out. You're going to get 3 different amounts, so the amount left for the photographer's fee will vary greatly with us, because it's the same person. Collie with this thing.
Yeah, I know, it keeps cutting out.
We're always going to have the production budget is always going to be the same, because it's the same way of making the thing. You can go the same way about doing it. So there's always the same amount for the photographer. So in terms of photographers undercut, I don't know. I mean, I have a set fee, and hopefully the photographer also does that.
Yeah, I think we'd be better off with thinking about it. There we go, that's better. Sorry about that. I think it's interesting to hear you speaking. Yeah. There you go.
I've done a lot of this.
I think it's interesting to hear you speak about those kinds of size of jobs, but at Channel 4, are you looking for photographers to work on much smaller jobs as well as the big budget productions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of our jobs will be a multi-day shoot. They're going on billboards. By necessity, they're a multi-part comp. So, for example, if you're shooting Gordon Ramsay, Jamie Oliver, Hugh Fenley-Whittington, Heston Blumenthal, the chances of getting all those 4 guys in one room at the same time is impossible. If you phone Jamie's agent now, they might be able to get you half a day in March. And the likelihood of that being the same day that Gordon's available. So you have to sort of design it in such a way that you're going to shoot over 2 or 3 days potentially, so it gets grey screen or whatever. So all that might not be your first choice, and you'd rather have them interacting with each other getting some experience of shooting in different locations at different times, and all the kind of the technical messing around with that entails. So we'll have jobs like that, but equally, sometimes it will be in fact some of the stuff that we've done together. In terms of the amount of people involved, it's been you, me, an art director, and that's kind of it. So they really vary in scale from in that instance a 3 or 4 person crew to having. I did a job in December at Pinewood, and we had I think we had something including cast. We had 250 people there. Working on one image, so they really do go in scale.
And what do you think about the kind of photography you're seeing at the moment? I mean, over the last 7 years, obviously you've come right through. I know when we first started working together, I was still working on film, and now obviously with digital, everything's changed dramatically. And I certainly see and I have my own opinions on the kind of work that's coming through. How does that affect what you're commissioning?
Well, we had a job the other day with Nadej Morrow, the French photographer, and I put the budget together. I thought, well, I know a certain amount for Digi Assistant and the tower and all that kind of stuff. And she said, okay, so I'm gonna shoot on neg. And I thought, oh, hello, I can't remember how you do that now. And I spoke to our post house. And they said, oh, we'll dust off the scanner then. And it was the first time in 2 years that they'd scanned neg, which is crazy. I mean, the shots look great, which that's what she works on. But so from that point of view, it's not been a question for me for the last 5 years in terms of what are you going to shoot on. It's always been in terms of digital or film.
But it's very refreshing that you were open to that, and that you weren't in a position where you kind of demanded that the person works in digital, and that you had that respect for the photographer. And I think that's a real key thing, isn't it, when it comes to commissioning? It's getting to work with people who actually love photography.
Well, that's what we've had that in the past with people. A couple of guys have come to see me recently, and they've said that they've had agencies say, we love your stuff, it's brilliant, love what you do. And then show them a concept which is totally different, and then they said, can you shoot it like this person? Completely different style of photography. So there's no, if you're going to work with someone, you're working with them because you like them and you like their work, and otherwise why are you commissioning them? There are enough people out there. Again, in the way that some photographers, there was a thing 5 years ago when Jim Fiskus started to work in this country that a number of people started to